Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here in my home in lovely Ligonier, Pennsylvania. Sorry, I'm a little bit late today. I've been rushing around, voting and trying to work on some stuff, and then I was having a hard time getting on and streaming to all the various locations that we stream to. And William informed me that some of those options are going away through StreamYard. So unfortunately, we're not able to stream to as many places as we were previously. I don't know if that's going to change or what's going to happen with that. So hopefully, you all are going to be able to catch us because it'd be a real shame to kind of build up the AG bead fam and then, have it go away. So yeah, so we're gonna try to do our best. It doesn't help that I was late today, but I was struggling to get on today. So yeah, hopefully you all had a good weekend. If you didn't get a chance to hang out with us on Saturday morning, we usually do a Saturday morning tutorial on YouTube. But Jen was out of town the previous week, and unfortunately, she couldn't film one for this past weekend. So I jumped in and did a live, and we did a little bit of metal smithing. We made some beads that are kind of like vocal beads, but you can make them smaller, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So we made some beads and embellished them with some wire and some more beads, and I thought it was pretty fun. Did anybody get a chance? I know I saw Harry had made his version, which was super cool. Did any of you else out there get a chance to make them? Um, oh, I see Danette's here. Hey, Danette. If you're watching, say hello. Maybe say where you're tuning in from. Susie, our neighbor, is watching. Howdy. Yeah, it's been busy today. I had to run out and vote today. It's voting day for primaries here in Pennsylvania. So I had to go out and run out and do that. Um, Karen's watching. Hi, Karen. So yeah, busy day today. A lot of experiments. If you saw last night, William showed some of the rings that I made or we made, and I got a request for a larger size, and I just so happened to have another one of um, little pieces that I made out of precious metal clay, and so I was able to make a size that fit the person. So I spent a lot of today doing that. I also did a bunch of experiments. If you're not following our Patreon, that's where it's at right now. I'm posting a lot of other things that um, I don't always share. Um, so I do a lot of experiments, and sometimes they're successful and sometimes they fail miserably, but I always learn something from them. And so I started documenting those things and sharing them in the Patreon. And it seems like people have been enjoying those posts. So I've been doing that. And it is one of those things where I have to make sure to be mindful of documenting things as I go, because I get in a habit where I just start making stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm neck deep in a project, and I was like, oh, I should have taken a picture. I see a couple more folks have tuned in. Norma's watching. Hey, Norma. Marianne's watching. Hey, Marianne. Yeah, so busy. A lot of enameling experiments, and I'm getting ready to teach a class at Sawtooth in October, which is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I'm trying to get everything, like all the samples made so that I can kind of do different trial runs and kind of piece together what I'm going to teach. So I've been trying to plan it out because it's my first time teaching for them, and I want to do a really good job so that they invite me back. And if you're in that area, um, signups haven't started yet, but when they do, please do because that'd be nice. So today I did my enameling experiments. I also did the ring, the custom ring. If you are looking for a larger size, I know some of the sizes I posted were too small for people, and for some people they were too big. So if you do want a custom size, let me know and I may be able to do it. And I say may because sometimes we get super, super hectic, crazy busy, and it's not always easy to do things. But yeah, so if you're interested in a different size, let us know. And maybe we can do it. It's also easier if I've already made some of the components and then I can just put it together. Um, if I have to start from scratch, it's more unlikely for me to do that because um, it requires a much bigger process. So, anyways, we've been super busy getting things ready for the move in Johnstown. If you haven't heard, we're moving the shop, and that's pretty big news. Um, it doesn't look like anything's happened yet because we've been stuck in kind of a limbo situation, but hopefully, as the month winds down, we'll be able to pick up steam. I would love, love, love to go down to North Carolina and Spruce Pines for the Fire on the Mountain Festival. There are some really wonderful presenters there. I took a class from Elizabeth Brim, who, if you don't know who she is, she's one of the most wonderful, delightful blacksmiths I know. And she's such a character. She wears a string of pearls and is super southern and super sassy, and super nice. So it would be great to see her, and she helps organize that, but I don't know if we're going to be able to go or not. I would like to go, but we'll see. Um, I am planning to go out to Memphis to go to the opening of the show that I curated called No Place Like Home. It's opening at the Metal Museum on May 1st. So that's a pretty big deal. It's the first time that I've curated an exhibition for a major museum. So I'm super excited about that. And hopefully, if you are in that area or you're passing through, it'll be up for the month of May and it closes on June 2nd. But there are a couple days that the museum is closed for special events and stuff. So just plan accordingly because I would hate for you to like drive out to the museum on the last day and then they'll be closed or whatever. So, um, sweet Sandra. Hey, Sandra. She says, when is that? The Fire on the Mountain is on the 27th of this month. So it'll be a fun time. That's in Spruce Pines. So that's over I think what 3 or 4 hours from where you're gonna be. While I'm there, I want to do a little whole circuit of visiting folks and catching up with people. I have some artwork to return to an artist who lives around there. Um, and yeah, so we've been busy, busy, busy planning that. I don't know if we're going to actually be able to go though, because we're kind of crunched for time and also crunched for our money. So that's the thing is when we decide to move the store, we had an idea. We're like, oh, it's gonna be real fast. We're gonna take our time, but not put too much pressure on ourselves. Um, and then it got pushed back, and then it got pushed back again. And every time it got pushed back, it just like our budget kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So thankfully, we got a majority of the work that we had to do beforehand. But I feel like it's one of those things where we're just going to have to roll with it and just get open so that we can start generating income from the in-person store. Sandra says the 27th is in 4 days. I know, I know. So we'll see if we actually get that done, if we get to go down or not. I would love to go. I may go and just like sneak away and leave William here. It would be nice to go with him. However, with everything going on, I just don't know how possible it is unless we stumble upon a great windfall and you know, it takes some of the pressure off. So we'll see. I'd like to go though. I would really like to go. But the museum opening, I definitely 100% have to go. And it's going to be a busy month. I've got all kinds of stuff planned, including the opening of the store, which happens on Memorial Day weekend. So, come heck or high water, it's going to be open, whether it's me putting a towel out in front and putting some beads out and doing like how I used to do in New York City in the youth time. um, it's gonna open. I don't care if it's loving hands of home up in here, and we're gonna be using our phones to ring people up, and I don't know, but we're gonna open on Memorial Day weekend, and it's gonna happen. We found a crate full of wine, and neither William doesn't drink, and then since he doesn't drink, I don't really drink anymore. So at least we'll have booze, and we can wash our sorrows away, and maybe put up some folding tables and play Monopoly. I don't know. All right. So it's going to be a busy night for me. So let's just get down to it. Hopefully, you all are having a good start to the weekend or the start to the week. If you're doing anything fun or exciting, let us know. What are y'all having for dinner? What are y'all doing with your lives? Tell me, tell me. Are you making stuff? Are you doing things? That's the exciting thing for me. All right. So we're going to make a bracelet. Um, and this is a pretty easy bracelet. And let me turn on the lights. Boy, this is a day, y'all. Not bad, but you know, it's just a day. Okay. Karen says Asian chicken salad, faux chicken. That sounds real good. I'm hungry for that. All right. So if you didn't see, this is what we made during the live Saturday morning tutorial this past Saturday with me. I did that. And then when I was off camera, I did a couple different variations. So this one, I did two things. The um, I made the taper a little bit, the triangle a little bit more severe, and I added way more extra wire. So that way you get kind of that scroll, that crescent roll. This one, it kind of looks like a tube. You could just cut a tube and done it that way. But this one looks more extra, you know, if you like that kind of style. Marion says, being lazy and I have been grazing all day, so no dinner. Yeah, I feel that sometimes. Um, If it wasn't for William, I probably would skip more meals, but I'm more mindful of that. Then I wanted to do a smaller version. So I did shorter pieces and thinner pieces and made these ones, which I really like. I was gonna do the wrap around it, but I kind of liked it just the way it was, so I left it. Did y'all see that? All right. And then up next, I did this one. Now this one is it has you get more layers, and the way that I did that is I cut into it, and I'll draw a diagram. So normally when you have that design, it's kind of like shaped like this. You have those flat spots, and then it comes down to a taper, and that's kind of rounded off so you don't get stabbed. But for this one, what I did is I took my shears and I cut little wedges out or little scallops out like this, so that when I rolled it, um, you get a little bit more of a dramatic kind of sense of movement. So it's a little bit. These are basically like paper beads, but done with metal, sheet metal. And then I did, that's this one. For this one, I'm going to do a surprise. Doo-doo. Oh, well, it wasn't a very good surprise. All right, here you go. I added a bead in there. Hi, friend. Um, and so it's like a mummy, little mummy roll. Um, so the way that I did that is I had my shape cut out like so. And then I took and I trimmed out a little chunk here. And I rolled it like that. And then it left a little vacancy. And so while I still had room, I slipped it in there and folded it over. And now that little bead is in place. So that's how I did that one. This one I think is just a regular one. All right. Just like this, except without the extra. I love these, by the way. If you can, if so, I didn't have my torch with me. It was kind of a last minute decision to go live this past Saturday morning. So I did it anyways. But I love to texture the metal beforehand, and it gives it even more interest. Um, so anyways, so I had that little scrap of metal left over, so I made a little roll up bead. And instead of kind of focusing in the middle, I moved it off to the side. And then you kind of get like a bead cap. No, I don't know. You could. You could use this as a bead cap. And if you wanted to, you could really taper this and make this more conical shape if you wanted to make a really cool bead cap that nobody else is going to have except for you and your very own. So I thought that's fun. All right, so let's get to it. So what the heck do you do with this business once you made it? So there's so many options. One thing that I like to do is I like to use unconventional, I guess this is not really unconventional, but I like to use different kinds of string material. So I like to explore my options. I'm going to give you a little bit of a story time. Picture it, young Andrew, fresh out of college, or maybe during college. I don't remember. Um, I was living in Brooklyn. Picture Brooklyn, early 2000s. Um, a young, fresh faced boy, young man, exits the subway at the Lorimer stop on the L train. He passes by and notices a new window. display within a gallery of jewelry, all kinds of jewelry. It looks familiar, as it should, because it was just featured in Lucky Magazine. As it turns out, it was an artist named Lisa Levine. If you don't know her work, I don't know if she's still making stuff or not, but a lot of her work was she took all these chains that I'm assuming she went to CJS in New York and just loaded up on the chain because it's kind of like a wholesale place where he's got stuff piled to the ceiling. And back in the day, it was kind of dangerous. Like you have to go and like shimmy underneath a garage door and then climb on these cardboard boxes that were disintegrating. And if you had asthma, you have to like be extra careful. I have vague recollections of going with Margot Potter, but I could be just free associating. But she went and she has real bad asthma, and I thought she's almost gonna die. So that trip didn't take very long, but we found lots of cool stuff. But anyways, so um the artist Lisa Levine, she had tons of this jewelry that's all this like tangled chain jewelry. And I just loved it, loved it, loved it. It was real popular. And she had a studio there for a long time. It ended up closing at some point, but I don't know if she moved or what happened. Maybe she lost her lease because prices started going up around then. I even had to leave the neighborhood. I couldn't afford it anymore. But anyway, so I started thinking when I started looking at her designs and how she did them. One of the things that she would use as a stringing material for her chain designs was more chain. So I started thinking about that. And then I started also when we opened the store, I did a lot of repairs. We don't do repairs anymore, but back in the day, we used to do repairs, and people would bring in their vintage Miriam Haskell jewelry, like the real deal, not the new stuff that just has her name on it. And surprisingly, a lot of it was strung on chain. The beads were strung directly on chain. So I thought, hey, why not start using chain as a string material? So I have this chain. It's an antique brass chain. It's real kind of fine. It's not too fine and to the point where you can just like break it by looking at it. You know the kind of chain I'm talking about. It's like as fine as a hair, and it's like who uses this? But anyway, so this is, it's pretty sturdy. I would say if you can get a steel chain, get a steel chain, or, that comes in different coatings, but it's super duper strong. And if you can, if you get the stainless steel one, then it doesn't rust or corrode or anything like that. And is super strong. But this is just an antique brass chain that I had laying around. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to measure your wrist. And I've got a couple different tricks for that. And the first one is the string method to measure your wrist. I'm going to use some soft flex because that's what I've got. So you've got your soft flex or your string, whatever. And then you just wrap this around your wrist. You can actually see it. And then you kind of measure it. And you kind of decide also two things. You want to decide how tight you're going to make it. Some people like really super duper tight bracelets. I get it. You don't want to lose them. You don't want to fall off. But I feel like it's like strangulating my chi when it's too tight and it's not like a cuff bracelet. Because if it's like a cuff or a bangle, that's fine. But if it's something else, it just feels too tight. So I kind of generally like my bracelets to be a little bit looser, not so loose that it's going to fall off and you're going to lose it into the netherland, but loose enough so that it doesn't feel like it's like cutting off your circulation and making you reevaluate your choices in life. So just enough so that it doesn't come off, but also loose enough so that the beads get a little bit of movement and play. I think that's super important. So I measure it like this. They make little tape measures. There's a seamstress tape measure that people can use. You can actually print off on the internet bracelet rulers. And if you print it on paper, it's flexible enough that it can go around your wrist. Um, and it can bend. So keep that in mind. I just do this, I measure it, and then I precisely eyeball the chain, and then I use this as my template, and then I mark it with my fingertips, and then I cut it, and that's it. That's the easy way that I measure. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach one of the sides of my bracelet, because if you try to attach two sides at the same time, you won't be able to get the beads on. If you try to wait till the end, it just makes it a lot harder. So, one of the keys, I think, to having jewelry that doesn't that really lasts and wears a long time is having good jump rings. You know, there's a lot of jump rings out there, and not all of them are created equally. Let me just truth tell it. All right. So I have a box that I use of all different kinds of jump rings. Some of them soldered shut, some of them not. But yeah, I see Cheryl's watching. Howdy, Cheryl. All right. So I've got my jump ring. That's going to be my closure. And I've got a smaller jump rings to connect. Because I have that, I need pliers, because my fingers are larger than the tips of the pliers. I saw somebody, and if you have bent nose pliers, feel free to use those. Those are nice because it keeps the tip out the way. But if you don't, I'm always losing those for some reason. If you've never opened a jump ring, you hold one side stationary, and then you take your other plier and you move it and you pivot it like so. It's like this. You don't want to pull apart like this, because if you do, it'll distort the jump ring and create a weak spot here. And then your perfect circle, not the band, will never be, it'll never be the same again. So you got to pivot and not pry. Pivot, not pry. All right. So I've got this one. This one is, I'm going to use this as my closure loop. So I'm just going to keep this like that. I'm going to take this open jump ring. I'm going to slip it onto the bigger one. And then I'm going to find the end of my chain, my very tiny chain, and slip that on and then close it up. Now you say, what happens if you got a gap? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you do it and then there's a gap. That didn't happen that time, but if it does, if there's a gap, open this back up. Remember, pivot, not pry. Then push, use your plier ends to push, and you'll over push it and it overextends. And then when you go to pull it in place, it'll lock in place. All right. So that's how you do that. And then it should be real nice and secure. So here's where the fun gets to happen. So we made these beads, or I made these beads. And then I'll say this may be for a necklace or a Kumahima project. This is a great big hole. These ones are a little bit trickier to bend because they're smaller. So if you do try to do this and you're like, boy, that guy is lying. He's lying through his teeth. I'm not. It is easy. It's extremely easy if you have bail making pliers. It is less easy if you don't, but it's not impossible. And the way to do that is to get started. You'll use your round nose pliers, and then you just start rolling. And then you got to turn it on the other side because these are tapered, right? If you do it one side, it's going to be roll hecka lopsided. So you work on one side first, then you go to the other side, and then you work on that side. And if you do it just right, you'll have an even center core. And you'll want to make sure that it's big enough that you can get this chain through it. And then that's where the fun happens. And it's a stringing project. So you can, this is real easy since it's got great big holes. You just thread this right through. Make sure it's not going to come off, obviously. And then you have to find your other ones. Actually, I've got these nice Lamport glass beads. These are made with the Z99. Some people call it the evil purple. It's Zimmerman purple rose on top of this kind of like creamy. And they got great big holes, so they'll work for our purposes. So I'm going to string that right through. And then I'm going to go and string this through one of the metal beads we made. And then I'm going to string up another one of these. And then I'm going to go and string up another one. All right. Easy peasy. Yeah, I'll be like, why am I watching this? Well, it's nice sometimes to be together. And if you want to have a more Lisa Levine style, I'll show you a trick. So I'm going to take this one off. And you can do this, and it makes it a really fun kind of accessory and kind of jazzes up. If you need to jazz up something, you can do this by taking a bigger chain. So this is a larger size chain. And then you kind of have to measure it with your eyes. And I think I'm going to go with this length. So maybe 2 inches or so. And use my pliers so I don't hurt my fingers. And then I'm going to set this aside. I always keep my little leftover jump rings because you never know. So what you do is you string on one end of the chain, the larger chain. And then you string your other bead on. And then you string the other end of the chain through your stringing material. Now you don't have to use chain for your base. You can use flexible beading wire or whatever. And then you get this cool kind of drapey action. And if you were Lisa Levine, you'd do like 10 of them. all different kinds of chain dingling around. If you don't like to have this like dingling around and like brushing on your wrist, I know some people get drove crazy that way, but I don't mind it. But some people they don't like that little tinkle 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 on your wrist bone. But oh, Denise is watching, so she said nice, thank you. So you can do that, and you can make that shorter if you want, or leave it off. It's up to you. You're in control. All right. And you can also graduate these. So you can start with like some small ones and then do a larger one and then do a smaller one and then a really small one. And you can like kind of plan it out like waves of the ocean. All right. So I'll make another one of these little, what do they call that when the fabric, it's not ruche. Usually they talk about in curtains. Is it a flounce? I don't know. Um, Basically it's where the fabric drapes down and makes kind of a billow. So anyway, I'm gonna do it again. It was so nice the first time, why not again, right? And so I'm gonna do it again. Super easy. Just put that larger chain through. And if you wanted to, you could leave that. If you wanted to, you could just totally leave that if you wanted to have that extra dangly. Cheryl says, I need to get some copper to try this technique out. You know what? You can use an aluminum can. You just have to make sure that you file the heck out of your edges, so you don't slit your wrists. That would be unfortunate. So, but you can use whatever metal. It's easier if the metal is thinner. Um, so just make sure everything's filed and sanded. And you can, if the bare metal is showing, you can do all kinds of stuff to doctor it up so that, um, see how that hangs down like that. Um, and you can do all kinds of things to doctor it up so that it doesn't look like an accident. All right, I'll add one more because we're on a roll, right? One is good, but three is better, right? I don't know. So I'm going to cut that chain off. This one's a little bit of a smaller little wrapped crescent roll up in here. And so I'm going to just slip this one on and slip this one on. Now this one I did make a hole and it kind of looks funny, kind of a little bit goofy, but oh wow. All right. Now here's where you can have a lot of fun with this. So because you have the chain kind of drooping down and kind of making those cascades, you can also embellish those. So if you love to wire wrap, this is a good opportunity for you to get all of that wire wrapping energy out, and you can make all the dingle dangles to your heart's content. Oh, did I tell you that there's a reason why I'm here by myself? Jen is back, and William and her are at the cottage and they're filming. So there you go. All right, now the next thing you do is you close everything up. You can add some more. You can look at it and plan it out. You can make some more kind of put some more or less. Sometimes less is more. So maybe you put one bead, one of these scroll beads, because this is kind of a pain in the butt to make a bunch, like, to make that. So why not make one and then just have chain and maybe a couple accent beads? Or if you like go to the beach and you find a really beautiful stone and or a piece of sea glass and you drill it out. Just make sure you use a diamond core drill bit and make a great big hole. And then you can make your this slips right on the chain would be awesome. Now with this one, I ran a piece of wire through it and I did a double wire wrap loop up here and here. And if you made your loops big enough, you can hang them off of here, or you can attach a jump ring and you can make your own kind of like um, a whole kind of a, whatever. Denise says, I love that. Thank you. How are you feeling? Didn't you just have a surgery? All right. So you could have all. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, that was a surprise. Pliers just fell out of the sky, y'all. Anyway, so you can make a bunch of these too, and you can also graduate them. So if you have a longer one, you can have like the longer one in the middle and then kind of fan it out. There's a really super famous artist. Her name is Susan Leonard. And some of her early work, she had these beautiful necklaces, and I think one is in the Smithsonian. And they took, or she took pencils, old pencils, and had them at different lengths, the little pencil nubs, and made a huge collar necklace out of all of these necklaces. So it was all these pencils. So it looked like all these spikes kind of jagged at, kind of poking out. I think that's such a beautiful piece. I've thought about that necklace probably for at least 20 years because it was so cool. But one of the things that I like, you can look at something and admire something in another artist's work and not have to copy them. Because it'd be so easy just to sharpen a bunch of pencils and make them independent. But what I do like is the silhouette, and it's that kind of over the top, kind of jaggedy kind of thing, and they kind of stick out. Um, I like that. So you could make a whole bunch of these and have that same kind of effect. Just this real deep cluster of all these pokey, don't touch me things. That's one of those necklaces that is like if you go to a cocktail party or whatever, an art opening, there's always people who are trying to hug. And I was like, what if you don't want to hug? What if you don't want to touch? Sometimes I get to the point where I don't like to touch people, especially after COVID. I got like a little bit weird. I was an opening not too long ago, and one of the people who was there, she's real touchy feely and real friendly, and she's super super duper nice. But she does this thing where she will mirror your body language, and I don't know if she does it on purpose, but it's supposed to like make you be comfortable. But if you mirror somebody and they have a particular mannerism, it becomes real apparent. And so one of my mannerisms was anytime she would step forward or get a little bit closer, I would move back. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. But it was one of those things where, like during COVID, you social distance. And so that's still in the back of my mind to, put a bubble of space around myself. Anyway, she picked up on that and she's like, "What do I smell?" I was like, "No, no, no, you don't smell, but I've just been trained this way now." So, anyways, Denise says, "I did. My foot is healing, less pain finally." Oh, good, good. Um, so you can make and just string up all those to your heart's content and be done. Hey, Michelle. Did I already say hey? I can't remember. All right. So now the trick is you have to find a clasp that will open and close. That's not going to be too heavy, but also not be too small. Because if it's too small, then your beads will just slide right over it, and then you won't have that anymore. They'll be gone. Sandra says, Andrew, I think we all have been trained that way. Some people have. Some people they love the touching. And even during the COVID time, they were all trying to grapple. And I was like, no, no, no grapple. That also is probably why I didn't get COVID for a knock on wood, y'all. But I didn't get it for a real long time because I'm not by nature a very touchy-feely person. So, you know, I guess if it was like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be social like that, but not often. All right, so this slides down. Sandra says, I'm fine with this. And yeah, you know what? I like it. Masks, people complained their hearts out about masks, but, I still like it because then I don't have to, people don't, get up on you. It's nice. All right, so now here's where it all comes apart. I'm going to take this off camera because I know without a doubt that I will not be able to put this bracelet on by myself without, if I don't do it a certain way. So there you go. I could have made this a little bit tighter. That looks terrible the way I'm demonstrating that. Anyways, I should probably not talk about that because our numbers just dropped significantly. Anyways, so here's a simple bracelet that we made using chain as our stringing material. And I would make this maybe a little bit shorter. The nice thing about this is that you can just take that jump ring and open it up and easy peasy, just move it and there you go. That's a great thing if you're gonna have bracelets for a show. I feel like bracelets are one of the hardest things to sell unless it's like a cuff, because uh, to fit like a ring, everybody mostly knows their size. Rings are hard too because you have to have a whole bunch of different sizes. Necklaces are fairly easy. Earrings are great if they're going to wear earrings. Sometimes you have to be concerned about weight and things like that. But necklaces usually is one size fits all. Rings, everybody's got a different size. Bracelets, everybody got a different size. You can kind of guesstimate, but I feel like bracelets are hard because if it's too loose, it'll fall right off. I've seen it happen. I've seen people buy bracelets that were way too big and they're like, oh, it's fine. And then, it falls right off. So usually it's when you're walking around and you don't notice it, and then that's when that happens. But anyway, so if you use chain as your stringing material, you can customize and adjust that real easy. It's as simple as opening and closing a jump ring is how quickly you can resize your bracelet. And unless you need it to be longer, sometimes if you have like a really big wrist, you need it to be longer. Um, you can still add chain. So just keep that in mind if you're doing any markets or selling events and you need bracelets. Think about how they're constructed so that you can um, have it fit people. Because I've seen it where people will love, love, love a bracelet. And they're like, what do I got to do to get that, to make that a possibility? I'm going to secure it. And then, yeah, um, that just went away from my brain. I was going to land the plane. Um, Anyways, about sizing. Oh, People may love, love, love the bracelet, but if it's too tight or too big, then you're gonna lose that sale. So if you can adjust it so you can easily customize it, all the better. All right. So here we go. That's it. Easy peasy. All right. I hope you all had a good time tonight. This project was real basic, but I think it's still pretty fun. If you wanted to, like I said, you could go on and embellish this by putting a bunch of wire wrap dangles on your chain, and it can add a little bit more movement. I love a good lobster claw on a bracelet, and one of the reasons why is that if you gesticulate a lot, or you talk a lot, or you work with your hands a lot, sometimes if you've got like a toggle for your bracelet, that business can come right apart and then you're gonna have the infinite sadness. So I don't know. Don't have the infinite sadness. And yeah. All right. Hopefully, you all have a great rest of your week. Where, if you didn't see in the online store, William has been working so, so, so hard to add new products. So he's been adding a bunch of new gemstones that I think people will really like. There's all different price points. I know sometimes when people see our stuff, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so expensive." But it's relative, it costs what it costs to sell stuff. I wish I could, make more money off the things we sell, but it's not always a possibility. So, anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this tutorial and have a great week ahead. We've got lots of fun things planned, so keep your eyes peeled. And also, if you're not on the Patreon, join the Patreon because I think there's a lot of stuff that we're posting that's kind of proprietary information. Where is it? Um, so here's the address. Um, these would be great with little milagros or those stainless steel charms that are plated. Those would be great. They're lightweight and would add just the right amount of sparkle. That'd be real cool. But anyways, join the Patreon. We're dishing the tea and sharing lots of kind of behind the scenes stuff and lots of our secret recipes and all kinds of goodies like that. So check that out if you're interested. I've got to go at some point and I've prepared two more posts that I can write about. And yeah, all right. Well, have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for helping us do what we're doing. We care for y'all and appreciate y'all so much. All right. Have a good night. See ya.